let's cover some of the biggest challenges that we're seeing today in cyber from your perspective.
So I guess that if we talk about the new threats that are many companies facing these days, the first one, of course, we need to talk about AI. That attackers are using AI for different tool sets and also different techniques. That's something that definitely is happening right now. But the second that I think is important too is how many of those edge devices that are connecting to the internet and being a gateway to the internal network and being compromised. We can talk about the Fortinet, the Vantis, any VPN devices, Citrix, you name it. I mean, there's so many different vendors and technologies that there are so many 0 days that attackers are using right now. For instance, this week, we are seeing the Oracle pre-auth exploit too. So I think that's another threat that is not like a new, but still is happening right now.
Well, not to mention some of those things you discussed just a moment ago are, some of the places you should feel safe within a VPN, even those are being compromised today, right? And AI is not just enabling existing actors to participate, but also people who have no knowledge, because now they can go in and write a standard human language query and learn how to do an exploit without any prior knowledge, and then they can go apply that. So it not only expands the aperture for existing threat actors, but it also expands it for people that would love to do it but don't have the acumen to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And also, talking from the operations point of view, we've all seen that people are using LLMs in order to use human language in order to say what they want to do when they compromise an organization. So instead of trying to send a command like execute this command or download this file or dump credentials, they can talk in human language to an LLM, and the LLM will transform that into command. So that's something that, of course, is changing everything very fast.
I think it's changing it exceptionally fast, which makes all the more difference for products like yours, because you got your traditional security stacks that are manning their posts, their battle station. However, there's a missing element, because even if those things are doing what they do well, true 0 days typically go amiss, or they get lost in a sea of alerts that are getting rolled up into a seam from multi-tools that are sending their logs and aggregating it. And no matter how many times you try to curtail that data and curate it to custom dashboards to centralize what it is that you're trying to look for, expanding that out and using a different thought process like deception. So if I got logs coming from a firewall or from an endpoint detection and response tool or whatever, I've got to sift through that to see what is important and what I should be looking at, right? But if I have deception deployed, I absolutely should be looking at that. What do you think about that?
No, definitely. I think that's a very good point. Because, for instance, we talk just about authentication events. In a normal organization, you will see thousands per day, or even more than thousands per day. And it's so difficult to distinguish which one are good and which one are being used by an attacker. Because the majority of the incidents nowadays are starting with spear phishing or stealing credentials. So any authentication event perhaps could be an attacker using credentials from an existing employee. So trying to distinguish the good and the bad ones is so difficult. But as you said, if you have a separate deception environment where there is an authentication event, you know that for sure something is strange. You need to have a look at that. So that's I think the power of using deception, that you can distinguish very easily and detect that something is happening, that is an anomaly, or it could be a curious employee, could be an attacker, could be a red team, could be anything, but at least you need to have a look. What do you think? Is that a shift on the security posture nowadays? Or?
I think it's a mentality shift. I think that if you deception is flipping everything on its head, because you want to collect everything, and then you want to sift through it to find something bad, because it's there. I think everyone can agree at this point that it's not if you're compromised, it's when and how and by whom. But deception it's not something that you arbitrarily look at or sift through. If you see something in your deception environment, you should absolutely stop what you're doing and pay attention to that, as opposed to the sea of alerts that you're going to get from everything else. It doesn't preclude those from being important, but it drives the importance to what your technology brings to the table. And I think that's what, from a mission first perspective, that's what's compelling to us with CounterCraft, and why we work with you guys from a technology perspective, is we see that as a gap. All the rest of the stuff still remains. But if you're not paying attention to real time, you may miss a true 0 day. It may be something that's not going to trip on in your alerts because you don't know about it. You may catch it in real time on your platform, and if people take that alert in consideration at that period in time, you might catch something before it ever happens, and you can alert your security team to say, hey, you need to be looking for this, where it would have had to have been a signature and someone would have already had to have been compromised. I think that's exceptionally important.
Yeah, I think that the bottom line is that you don't need to replace your existing security stack, that perhaps you have an EDR or an NDR, your SIEM, your SOC. I mean, all the security tools that you are using, don't need to replace them. It's like you need to add this new layer is totally complementary. I mean, that's something that is going to give you more information. It's going to give you a credible source of intelligence sometimes, because as you said, anything that we are going to detect is something that can be at least suspicious.
Correct.
So definitely we need to have a look. So it's trying to combine the power of your existing security stack plus the use of deception in some scenarios. I think that's a powerful combination.
I concur. And the way I see it is, you're not adding to the problem and creating alert fatigue. You're creating an alert that requires attention, right? So it's not just going to become one more tool in a sea of tools. You're going to still have all that stuff going in. You're still going to have people looking at that, but it's going to drive their attention to something that should be having action taken on, right? I think that's something that's missing. I think it's something that should be added into the traditional security stack and become a new norm. But I also believe, just like back in the day when they went from bare metal to hypervisor, everyone's like, why do I need to have multiple servers when I can run everything on this one, until you have a failure on that one server? I think that people had to have a mentality shift to make that leap of faith into hypervisor world, and took some time, but here we are, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So talking about our partnership, I think that's important to emphasize, that we are working together. What do you think is the best combination we can do together? I mean, because we are offering a software-based deception tool. You can also offer hardware. You can offer other tools that can be combined and offering like a very powerful solution to the customer.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. I think that one of the things we do here at Mission First Cyber is we take OEM manufacturers and we try to build solutions rather than point product sales. There's plenty of companies that focus on that, and God bless them, but that's not really the realm we live in. From the leadership down, we're all technical, and we like to look at the new and innovative products that bring something compelling to the customer that they may have not had access to before. So we like to advocate for new stuff. And with your platform being software, it's very flexible. Anybody can deploy it in their existing infrastructure. But for those folks that want to have an appliance, or for deployable, form factors, we have a flyway kit that we have built for multiple customers within the U.S. Military and the foreign military side of the house, for deployable stuff, so they can take a small form factor, roll it in, plug it in, analyze, see how things are currently on their network, and then they can decommission that, rebuild the platform, and go do an alternative operation. I think that deception should be part of that, but also just a purpose-built appliance that has your software stack on it, that someone can just pop into a rack, plug it in, and they're up and running. And from our perspective, we can help build campaigns. We can help deploy the software. We can help educate the customer. And quite honestly, there's a big body of water that separates company headquarters from some of our customer base here. So we're the boots on the ground that can help within the United States.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that having that hardware capabilities is something that many customers are requesting, to be honest, in different parts of the world. As we are working with the Ministry of Defense in different regions, sometimes they are asking for this hardware capability because sometimes they need to respond to an incident in a remote location. And of course, it's not easy to deploy a virtual machine, but they can ship an appliance, for instance, and then ship also the response team and try to do the incident response in real time with that appliance running. Or perhaps when they have a new project in a remote location, that sometimes perhaps the communications are not very good because it's only satellite. Or, for instance, if we are talking about maritime or shipping company. So there are so many scenarios, with that adding hardware appliance to our solution is, I think that's a very good combination. So I guess that also is another way to express that thing we can do, like great things together. not only in the US, but also in many other regions of the world.
100%. And, that's what makes us unique as a company. We have a focus in the U.S. within the public sector, but we have spent quite a bit of time in Europe this year. Obviously, we all know what's going on politically, and that landscape has created opportunity for our partner nations to work together with the U.S. government and the NATO partner nations to help strengthen their cyber presence, so that in the event that any of our adversaries, are trying to do nefarious things to them, their infrastructure isn't brought to its knees. Because, quite honestly, we want to help them, but also, should we need to move into spaces and leverage that infrastructure, if it's unavailable, then that's not good for the posturing politically.